Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. And while we wait, I want to encourage people to follow me on Twitter at New Possibilities. Actually, my Twitter is New Poss Blog. Follow me at New Poss Blog on Twitter. Also, I want to encourage you to like my Facebook page, New Possibilities. Again, that's on Facebook. And also, I'm on TikTok as well. I recently joined TikTok, so I hope that you all can like and follow my page on TikTok. That's New Possibilities Blog. So you can find me on TikTok. I recently started there. And I post just about every day on TikTok. So I encourage you all to follow me on TikTok. So, for this particular video, I'm talking about something that's lighthearted. Usually I talk about a lot of serious subjects, as you all know, but you also know that I'm really into hip hop. I'm a big hip hop fan. And I just want you to let me know before I even get started into this live stream if you can hear me fine. If you can hear me, please write 7 in the chat so that way I'll know everything is fine because I don't want to go forward if there's a lot of buffering or there are issues with the audio. Good morning, Lady Paul. If you can let me know if the audio is fine, I would appreciate it. You can put a 7 in the chat if everything is fine. If not, just let me know that if you can hear. Okay, I see that Lady Paul put a 7 in the chat. I appreciate it. So let's get right into it. So Jay-Z was asked about Verzuz, and most people know about Verzuz. Verzuz is online competition between different artists. It started during the pandemic, so a lot of people, we're stuck in our homes and stuff like that. A lot of artists weren't able to do concerts and everything because of the pandemic. So to continue to entertain people and to continue to receive money, a lot of artists competed on Versus, and it continues today. And there have been some very great verses. Like one of the standout verses is the Locks versus Dipset. That received a lot of attention and a lot of buzz. And so someone asked Jay-Z about verses, asked if he would go on verses, and he basically said that there was no one that could stand on that stage with him. He's basically saying that there's no one that can compete with him on verses. And a lot of people have bought into this hype, bought into the hype that Jay-Z is somebody that no one can compete against. And before I even go further, I'm just going to make it clear that I do see Jay-Z as a hip hop legend. He is one of the great MCs in hip hop. He is an icon without a doubt. And, he's a great businessman, obviously. He's become a billionaire and all that. And that stuff is commendable without a doubt. He has, great albums, great lyrics. He's a great lyricist, a great MC without a question of a doubt. But to say that nobody can compete against him is just, ridiculous because there are plenty of MCs that can compete against him. And as an older person myself, as somebody who's like been into hip hop since day one, since I was a kid, um, I know a lot of people in my age range probably um, find it hard to accept that there are other MCs that can go against him in a versus. A lot of them are going down memory lane. You know what I'm saying? They have like nostalgia when they think of Jay-Z and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are just motivated by status. Like they see that this is a successful man, a successful businessman, married to one of the greatest R&B artists out right now, Beyonce. So a lot of people are caught up into that hype instead of just looking at it for what it is, looking at it in terms of skill set, whether or not there are people that can actually compete against Jay-Z. And I will get to your comment shortly, but I just wanted to name a few people that I think that can compete against Jay-Z. I mean, the first and most obvious choice is Nas. We know back in the early 2000s, Nas and Jay-Z were um, having an exchange of words. They were beefing. You know, it was hip hop beef. Jay-Z dropped the song Take Over, where he dissed Nas and Prodigy from Mobb Deep and some other people. And in response to that, Nas dropped Ether. And before Nas dropped Ether, you know, you had people thinking it was over for Nas. You know, even somebody like a DJ Premier, you know, he thought it was over for Nas. He thought that, you know, it was going to be hard for Nas to come back. But when Nas dropped Ether, most people felt that Ether was far stronger than Takeover. And most people that look at the battle objectively would say that Nas won that battle. Nas literally set a gold standard when it comes to diss records in hip hop when he dropped that song Ether. It has gotten to the point where when people talk about destroying somebody or, you know, verbally destroying somebody, they use the term ether. And even on here on YouTube, you had this YouTuber who would use the ether beat every time he would, you know, attack other YouTubers and people in general and stuff like that. So ether set a gold standard in hip hop. And, you know, I think that Nas destroyed Jay-Z in that battle. And I'm curious as to what you all think. And, you know, most people agree with that. You know, Nas destroyed him in Ether. And so that's one thing. You know, Nas proved that he has the lyrical ability to defeat Jay-Z. So he would naturally be a first choice when it comes to somebody that can compete against Jay-Z. Another reason why he would be a choice is because he's been in the rap industry for about the same period of time. Jay-Z started a little bit after Nas, but the fact of the matter is they both came out close to around the same time. They both have classic albums. Nas's Illmatic is probably one of the greatest hip hop song, you know, albums of ever all times. One of the greatest hip hop albums of all times, and one of the greatest albums. Period. Most people recognize Illmatic as a standout classic album. Most people that are familiar with hip hop understand this. And even Jay-Z in his diss to Nas acknowledged that Illmatic is a great album. Um, if it wasn't great, Jay-Z wouldn't have sampled it. And Jay-Z had to explain why he's using a sample of a man that he's trying to diss. So, I mean, so that's one thing. Illmatic was a classic. You have Stillmatic and you have other Nas albums that are great that can compete with many of Jay-Z's albums. Now, of course, like in terms of commercial success, Nas hasn't had the same type of commercial success as Jay-Z. But in terms of his lyricism, in terms of his ability to perform on stage, in terms of the classic songs that he has, just in terms of his stage presence and all that kind of stuff, I definitely know that he would be able to compete against Jay-Z. So, you know, that's the most obvious of choice. The second person that I would say, and this, you know, this is going to be controversial for some people, would be Lil Wayne. You know, now I know a lot of purists, you know, don't like Lil Wayne, and there was a time when I wouldn't have even thought of Lil Wayne as possibly competing against somebody like a Jay-Z. There was a time when I didn't even appreciate Lil Wayne as a rap artist and stuff like that. Um, and really, it was my nephew that made me take a second look at Lil Wayne because we would have these discussions, like me, my nephew, and my brother. We would have these discussions, and yeah, shout out to everyone in the chat room. But me, my brother, and my nephew would always have these discussions about hip hop. And my nephew would say, Lil Wayne is the greatest rap artist of all, you know, right now. He's the best living rap artist right now. And Lil Wayne actually has a song where he says best rapper alive, you know, and he's singing about that. But so my nephew would constantly say, you know, Lil Wayne is you know, one of the best MCs to ever do it. So after that, I decided, well, let me pay more attention to Lil Wayne. Let me listen to Lil Wayne's music more to find out what the hype is all about. And after listening to him, I learned to appreciate his skill set. I learned to appreciate his lyrics and his how innovative he is, how clever his punchlines are, and how hilarious he can be, and how serious he can be as an MC as well, and how entertaining that he can be. So I think that he would definitely be a good competitor against Jay-Z. He also has many great albums. He's dropped a lot of material, not only the official albums that he has dropped, but he also has a whole bunch of mixtapes. He has a bunch of collaborations. And a lot of times when he does a collaboration with another artist, or there could be like a whole team of artists on a particular song, but when he drops his verses, it just stands out above the other MCs. So I think that Lil Wayne would be, a great challenge, especially given the fact that hip hop is something that is geared toward the youth for the most part. A lot of young people are the audience for verses and stuff like that. So I think that would come into play. And Lil Wayne is just way more live than Jay-Z. Like Jay-Z, um, he's a great entertainer, no doubt. Like his performances are great, but I just think that Lil Wayne would bring more to the show, especially if they use a format like some of the recent verses have been, like where it's not lip syncing, where it's actual artists rhyming over the beats, over the tracks, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that he would be a great competitor, and you could see like little glimpses of his ability and stuff like that when he had like a song, like he has this song on his album on one of, I think it's the Carter 3 or 4. Let me just pull it up because I was just checking it out. Yeah, it's the Carter 4, and it's this song called "It's Good." And on that song, he basically goes at Jay-Z. He goes at Jay-Z for some disrespectful remarks that Jay-Z made on one of his songs, where he's like talking about basically saying that people like Lil Wayne got baby money. They don't even have his ladies' money. So Lil Wayne came back with some powerful punchlines. And let's put politics aside. We know that Lil Wayne talks about a lot of negative stuff and all that kind of stuff. And he's not like the most politically conscious, and he's not promoting a positive lifestyle or any of that stuff, obviously. But that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about sheer entertainment, sheer ability to rhyme and to entertain people. And he has no doubt some of the most clever punchlines in hip hop. So yeah, I think that he would be a great competition. And he's been out like actually longer than, I think he's been out longer than Jay-Z, or around the same time as Jay-Z, because he's like been rapping since he was a teenager. So he has like a lot of albums, a lot of material to draw from. And he also has a lot of commercial success. So when it comes to the commercial success, in terms of album sales and streams and all that kind of stuff, he can go toe to toe with Jay-Z. Despite what all these people are saying, I got into this huge debate on my personal Facebook page with all my friends and stuff. And then, and I basically was like trolling a little bit because I said, Lil Wayne would destroy Jay-Z on Verzuz. So of course everybody was going crazy saying, nah, you wrong about this and that. But I think he would give him a run for his money, man. Especially if you got a younger audience. Like if you ask most young people that are into hip hop who is better, like without a doubt, most of them are gonna say Lil Wayne. And they're the ones that are really consuming this music. Like a lot of these old heads like myself, they're not really listening to hip hop like that. They're not listening, they're like reminiscing on Jay-Z's old stuff, for the most part. So that's one person that I would say could compete. So you got Nas, you got Lil Wayne. Another person would be Drake. Since we're talking about Lil Wayne, Drake is somebody that came up under Lil Wayne, but Drake is another artist, another consistent artist that has produced hit after hit. and he produces great music. Like he's very consistent. Even though some people will say like he just uses a formula and it's the same recycled type stuff, but his skills are have to be acknowledged. I mean, he's a great lyricist, a great entertainer, and he makes great music. Like, for instance, you have some people that are great lyricists, but their music is not great. The music itself is not great. Like, in terms of it resonating with people. Like, it's not hip hop is not just about putting a whole bunch of words together and being all complex and stuff like that. It's about moving a crowd and making people love the music and feel the music. And that's what Drake has done. Like he has been consistent since he has come out. Like he has a lot of great albums. He has a lot of commercial success, and a lot of people like his music. Like even the purists that have all this stuff to say about a Drake or whatever, they know he produces good music, great music, as a matter of fact. So he would be somebody that would be great to go against Jay-Z. And one of the things that I highlight about that is like Drake, the songs that he has done with Jay-Z, like for instance, Pound Cake. I like Drake's bars better than Jay-Z's bars on that particular song. So he would be a great competition against Jay-Z. And I think that like if somebody like a Drake or Lil Wayne were to compete against Jay-Z, Versus would have a record viewership. I'm telling you, like that would be a record charting viewership if he were to be, to go against Jay-Z. So I mean, I just think that Jay-Z, of course, as a rap artist, you got to be confident. Hip hop is all about confidence, and you have to believe that you are the best in order to make it in hip hop. You have to have that kind of attitude, that type of swagger and stuff. So I respect his style. I respect Jay-Z as an artist, but he's just factually wrong. Like, there are plenty of people to could go against him. Another person that comes to mind is somebody that he's collaborated with, somebody that he's worked with, and that would be Kanye West. Kanye West has a great catalog of music. Kanye West has great songs. And I'm not saying that Kanye West is on the same level with him lyrically. I don't think that Kanye West, like if you're just going bar for bar, lyric for lyric, who's the best, and just in terms of varieties of flows, I won't say that Kanye West is a better rapper than Jay-Z by any stretches of the imagination, but as a total package, he brings a lot to the table. He brings a lot to any kind of competition, in terms of his creative performances, in terms of his production. Like most people acknowledge that Kanye West is one of the best producers in hip hop ever. He's produced for Jay-Z himself. Like he helped produce Jay-Z's classic Blueprint album. And so I think that that's significant. I think that he would give Jay-Z a run for his money. And also, despite the fact that Jay-Z is a better lyricist, Kanye West has held his own. Like they did an album together, and he was able to keep up with Jay-Z. So I think that he would be a great competition. He would be great to go against Jay-Z. I like the creative nature of his performances as well, like how he adds like all these effects and all that kind of stuff. Just based on the concert, the little clips from concerts that I've seen of Kanye West, for instance, when he was promoting the Donda album. That's another thing. And then that reminds me of another point. It's just how innovative Kanye West is, like when it comes to hip hop. Now you could talk about he's crazy and this and that, talk about his ridiculous politics, and I feel that. But when it comes to music, Kanye West is like a genius, man. Like how he's uh, been so creative with the hip hop. Like he is the first person that put out a song like Jesus, a song like Jesus Walks, a song about religion, but a song that people could feel and dance to in a club or listen to on the radio and stuff like that, that's innovative. That album Donda is innovative, like mixing, like gospel with hip hop in a way that appeals to a large number of people. Now there have been other artists who have, done that, like they mixed gospel with hip hop, but it hasn't reached nowhere near the level of success that a Kanye West has. I mean, one person that has reached a lot of success would be like a Kurt Franklin or something like that, but that's not hip hop, even though it has like hip hop type of influences, but that's not hip hop. So Kanye West is innovative in that sense. In terms of the subject matter, he's innovative. Because, for instance, you have like a lot of these artists that, like Jay-Z early on started off his career just talking all this, drug dealer stuff, this thug stuff and all that kind of stuff. But Kanye West has managed to talk about a wide range of different things. And some of the stuff is stupid stuff, but some of it is, serious stuff, deep stuff, hilarious stuff. So I think that Kanye West would give Jay-Z a run for his money. So that's one person. Um, another obvious choice would be Eminem. Eminem would be a great artist to go against Jay-Z. Eminem in terms of commercial success, he either matches Jay-Z or exceeds Jay-Z in terms of like Grammys and record sales and all that kind of stuff. So when you're looking at that, which is important to a lot of people, because I hear this all the time. Like I was on Facebook and this one guy was like, "Hey, you don't know what Verzuz is about. Like it's not about, like, a battle over lyrics. It's about like, the catalog that a person has compared to another person's catalog, and commercial success is a part of that." So Eminem would definitely see Jay-Z when it comes to the commercial success. And then when it comes to lyricism, like Eminem, despite the criticism that many people have towards him or the reservations that people have towards him, most people will acknowledge that Eminem is a great MC. Most people will tell you that. That's something that nobody really disputes. Now they may dispute whether or not they feel his music or if his music resonates with them, and that's a valid point. But lyrically, he can see Jay-Z. I mean, he's arguably better than Jay-Z when it comes to lyrics. He's definitely more creative than Jay-Z when it comes to lyrics, because just the things that he raps about and all that kind of stuff. And again, he has the hits to go along with it. Eminem kind of reminds me of a backpack rapper that actually became a success with hip hop. Like a lot of backpack rappers like just stay underground, but he actually managed to become a huge success. But yeah, I think that he would definitely be a great competitor. And again, this is another example where we have like a glimpse of that with that song that he did with Jay-Z, Renegade. Many people argued that Eminem's verses or bars on that song were better than Jay-Z's. So obviously he would be a great person to compete against Jay-Z. So that's one person. Another person that comes to mind is Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes would be a great competitor with Jay-Z. Like, I would love to see that. Busta Rhymes has been around even longer than Jay-Z. Like Busta Rhymes has classic collaborations that go back to the early 90s. Like the first time I even heard of Busta Rhymes is when I heard him on Scenario, where he was such a standout artist that it's like when he started to spit his verses, like you practically forgot about what the other rappers had to say in that song. I mean, even though like I would say that Fife, his bars stood out, like how he opened up the whole song. I think his bars were still, outstanding in that particular song. But the point is, Busta Rhymes outshined the people that were on that particular song. And that's, you know, a testimony to his skills as a rap artist. And then how he's able to rhyme in different ways. And he has remained relevant over all of these years. Like you have some artists, for instance, that put out classic albums way back in the day, but in terms of today, they're not as relevant. Like nobody's really listening to them like like that. And part of that deals with marketing and promotion and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Busta Rhymes has been consistent. Even his very last album, Extinction Level Event 2, just showed how consistent he is, just showed how his skills are still up to par. And then again, he's another one of these artists that talk about a wide range of things. Like he could talk about the end of the world in one song and, you know, the 5% knowledge in, you know, another song, and then talk about some Pastor Cavassier in another song, or be on some ignorant stuff like in the Annie Up remix where he's on that. Yeah, so Busta Rhymes, and then like Busta Rhymes' stage presence, and I think that that's a part of verses. Like when the artists are actually performing on stage, their ability to hype up a crowd, and Busta Rhymes, no doubt, has that ability. He's, you know, animated and all that kind of stuff. As Jay-Z pointed out in one of his songs, like he said, I'm not as animated as, say, a Busta Rhymes, but when you bust down my lines, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so he would be a great competition. And that kind of reminds me of something that I wanted to say about Lil Wayne, going back to Lil Wayne. And that's this. Jay-Z has a song where he talks about passing the torch on to Lil Wayne, talks about how great Lil Wayne is as an MC. And you know, after this video is loaded, I'll put those lyrics in the description box so people can check them out. And I can't recall the song off of my head, but it's on that Black album. It's on Jay-Z's Black album where he talks about how great an MC Lil Wayne is. So people need to quit sleeping on Lil Wayne. There's a reason why somebody like Jay-Z would do songs with a Lil Wayne. That alone speaks to how great an MC he is. And that goes back to Nas as well. Like even before the beef between Nas and Jay-Z, Jay-Z wanted Nas on his albums. And after Nas destroyed him with Ether, Jay-Z wanted to do songs with Nas. So that tells me that Nas is somebody that can literally stand on the stage with Jay-Z. So Jay-Z's ego is inflated, and you know that's what you expect from people that are successful and all that kind of stuff. But come on, son, he's not all that. I mean, he's great, but let's not get it twisted. There are plenty of people that could go against him. Um, and one person I want to, somebody mentioned LL. I saw LL's name in the chat. Oh, somebody said Jay-Z made music before Busta. I don't know about that. Like I know he had that wax song with Jazzo or whatever. I'm talking about him as a solo artist, you know, when he got his own deal. And I think that was like 96 or something like that. And Busta Rhymes had been out since before then. Because I think that you know, that album that A Tribe Called Quest put out with the scenario on it, I think that came out in 92 or 91 or something like that. So he was out way back then with leaders of the new school and stuff. Yeah, so that's my thoughts about that. So, but somebody mentioned LL Cool J. So this is what I'll say about LL Cool J. Like, I think, you know, I mean, obviously LL is a legend in hip hop. You know, he's, you know, laid the foundation along with, you know, people like obviously like Run DMC and all that kind of stuff. And he's a great artist and all that. You know, he's a great artist, but he's not relevant today. Unlike Jay-Z, like Jay-Z is still relevant as a rap artist. Like when was the last time you heard a LL Cool J song, or heard him on somebody's mixtape, or heard him on a collaboration or stuff like that? His time has passed. Like I really think that LL Cool J's time has passed, and like he probably has skills to rhyme. I mean, I'm sure he can still rhyme and stuff. Like he could hop on somebody's song, but nobody's really checking for him like that. He's not as relevant uh, like that, and I think that it would be better for him to compete with another legend of his time period. Um, you know, another one of the legends of the '80s and early '90s. Um, Yeah, so that's what I think about that. Like, I think that the biggest problem with LL Cool J is just that he hasn't been putting out music in the last few years. So that would be a hurdle for him to overcome. And also, I just think his rhymes, like, even though he's a legend in hip hop, I just think his rhymes are less evolved than somebody like a Jay Z or a lot of the other people that I mentioned. It's like, when you see that chart, that evolutionary chart where they have like, Darwin's theory of evolution, and they have like a primate, a monkey type primate at the beginning of that chart, and then it eventually evolves into man. I think that LL is on that earlier end of the evolutionary chart. Like back then, like rhymes were more basic and simple. I mean, even though like his rhymes were better than, I mean, obviously better than most of the people at that particular time. And he was ahead of his time compared to a lot of the MCs at that particular time. But compared to today, I don't think that he's like on the level of these other people right now. Um, and that may be a hard pill for people to swallow. Another person that I would like to mention is man, I see somebody's comment. Somebody mentioned Cool Mo D. Like I can't see Cool Mo D competing against Jay Z. Like Cool Mo D, like he doesn't have as many classic albums as Jay Z, and he hasn't like done anything in years. Like probably over a decade. It's been like, unless it's some underground stuff I never heard of before. But another person that would be great for Jay Z to go against would be Black Thought from the Roots. And I know, like, just based on the commercial level, like a lot of people will say he doesn't have a catalog as Jay Z. Like he doesn't have all these hits like Jay Z and stuff like that. And that's a valid point. But I'm saying, like, imagine if Versus was like a real hip hop battle, and it was about like the people that really love hip hop and love to be entertained by clever wordplay and great rhymes and all that kind of stuff. I definitely think that Black Thought would give Jay Z a run for his money. And um, though the Roots, Black Thought and the Roots, they have some great songs that could go toe to toe with Jay Z, without a doubt, without a question. So I think that Black Thought would be a great person for him to go against, especially if they just do freestyles. If they have a section where they really do legit freestyles, that would even take it to a whole nother level. Because I'm sure that many of you saw uh, Black Thought on Funk Master Flex show when he did that freestyle rhyme for like over 10 minutes, just flowing off the dome with, hard hitting dope lines and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, he definitely has the skill set to go against Jay-Z. And, for all these people saying he like, nobody can stand on the stage with Jay-Z. I mean, have these people even seen like the freestyle battle between Jay Z and DMX? That was on like some documentary that they did of one of their concerts. They had a backstage um, rhyme battle between DMX and Jay Z, and I mean, both of them were hot. Both of their rhymes were hot and everything like that. Were on point. But I think that DMX had an edge on him in that particular battle, just based on his energy and based on how he was coming with those lyrics and stuff like that. And that's one thing that's important about hip hop. Hip hop is not just about, again, clever wordplay. It's about performance. It's about how you say things and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that DMX would definitely give. I mean, the fact that DMX was able to give Jay Z such a battle proves that there are plenty of people that could stand on the stage with Jay-Z. Let's see. Unconventional choice that I would pick would be Ghostface, and I'll close out with this. I could mention one other person too, but I'll mention one other person as a bonus. But Ghostface would give Jay-Z a run for his money as well, because Ghostface has a great catalog. He's been on so many classic albums. You got the two Wu-Tang, the first two Wu-Tang albums, which are undisputably, classics. They're undisputed classics. And Ghostface is a standout artist among great artists in Wu-Tang. And then you have like the Purple tape, that Ghostface did with Raekwon. And then Ghostface's long track record of great albums. So he would be a great competition against Jay-Z. Now I saw the competition, a little bit of the competition that he had with Raekwon. I think if they use a different format, it would be a great battle for him and Jay-Z, not just a format where you're just sitting down and saying rhyme. That would, I don't think that would be a good lineup. But if they just had a real performance type of lineup in a versus between Ghostface and Jay-Z, that would be great. That would be a great competition. So that's one. And then the last person I mentioned would be Jadakiss. Like Jadakiss would be great, but it would be an uphill battle for Jadakiss, I think. You all saw what Jadakiss did to Dipset. You saw how he just like blew them out of the water. And I think like going in, like a lot of people thought, well, this is a good matchup, but the way it turned out was so much more lopsided than many people would have expected. And I think that the same is true if Jay-Z steps to any of the people that I named. Like I think that it may turn out different than a lot of people are thinking. So I think that, Jadakiss' performance in that verses with Dipset is an example of how he would be a great MC to go against Jay-Z. And he has a lot of great rhymes. The problem with Jadakiss is just like his the limitations on his subject matter. Like most of his stuff is about that hood life and all that kind of stuff. So he's limited in what he could rap about. Like, even though he had like one song where he raises some great questions. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like about a lot of stuff, including the World Trade Center bombing and all that stuff. So, so I think that he would be a great that would be very entertaining to watch. And the mere fact that Jay-Z had like so many songs with Jadakiss tells you that Jay-Z himself has a lot of great respect for a Jadakiss. The fact that he would literally be on the same stage with him with the same song tells you how much respect that he has for somebody like Jadakiss. So Jadakiss would be great. So, that's the name of the song, Royal. Why? Because he's like, why this, why that, and in that particular song. Let's see what y'all are saying before I sign out. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to Nappy Yankee. Somebody mentioned Beyonce is going against Shay-Z. No, that's not. I'm not talking about like any artist, period. We're talking about just rap artists. Shout out to Def Rocker. Shout out to James Parker. Shout out to Nappy Yankee. Let's see. So Def Rocker mentioned Rakim. And Rakim is one of the best to ever touch a mic. He's a legend. And many people will say that he's the greatest of all time. That Rakim is the greatest of all time. The only issue with Rakim is that he hasn't had any recent songs. It's been a long time since he's had some new music and stuff. So that's the biggest obstacle for Rakim going against Jay-Z. But Rakim is, a legend and stuff. And, just based on his first couple of albums, he solidified himself as one of the greatest to ever do it. And even if you just draw off of that the catalog from those couple of albums, it would go head to head against anything that Jay-Z put out, like anything that he has. Because Rakim was definitely way ahead of his time. He was way ahead of anybody in the 80s at that particular time, in terms of like his rhyme style, in terms of the lyrics that he brought to the game. He was ahead of his time, because at that time, like a lot of MCs were like using that using the LL type style where they rhyme all loud and, are all fast paced with their rhymes, up tempo. But Rakim was one of the few people to just chill with their rhymes and just laid down those hard hitting lyrics that painted vivid pictures. So yeah, I mean, that would be interesting, but I just don't think that he had like, it would be a challenge because he hasn't been putting out new music for many years. That would be the only difficulty with Rakim. Lane Lloyd said, "What about Diddy?" I mean, Diddy would be better going against people as a producer, but not as an MC. Like I think Diddy only has like one album or something like that. Hold on a second. Yeah, so hopefully you're able to hear me. I know there's a little bit of background noise and stuff. But yeah, I think that would be I mean, I don't think Diddy would stand a chance against Jay-Z. I mean, first of all, Diddy don't even write his own stuff. Um, Shout out to Elaine Lloyd. Shout out to LA. What's good? Yo, LA, I don't know if I wonder if you heard about David Carroll passing away. Um, I wonder if you heard about that, if you're still here. Let's see. It's been a while since I've been checking out videos here on YouTube. So Elaine had the straight face for a Lil Wayne. Like she don't believe he could do it. Somebody said Master P and T.I. Like I don't think T.I. has enough hits to go against Jay-Z. I mean, that would be interesting to see, but I just don't think his catalog measures up to Jay-Z's. And Master P, like I don't think Master P can mess with Jay-Z lyrically. Master P has some great, like I love the beats in his, his early music, like the production, because he had that music that like just get you all amped up, like that, make them say, and all that stuff. Like he got some amped up songs like I'm about it, about it. Some live. His music is live. It's extra live, man. But I just don't see him going against Jay-Z. And again, that's another issue with him is with these other older artists is that he hasn't put out anything lately. So Elaine Lloyd said things that are acquired tastes aren't good. That's not necessarily true. Like some of the best things that people learn to appreciate are great things, are some of the best things. Like for instance, like somebody can say the same about caviar, which is recognized as like like a top tier upscale type of food to eat. But for people that don't regularly eat that, they may not have the taste for that. Or the same thing could be true with wines, fine wines. Like for somebody that's not familiar with wines like myself, because I don't drink. Like for us, like it may all taste the same and be nasty or whatever. But for somebody that's acquired the taste and they're familiar with it, they can appreciate the greatness within it. But I hear what you're saying, though. Oh, Def Rock, I don't think Lil Wayne is that country. Like, that's one of the things about Lil Wayne. Like, he started off like being, he was obviously from Louisiana and all that kind of stuff, New Orleans. And so, he started when they early on started off, they were like more regional type of music, even though they had a nationwide appeal and people bought his music all over the country. but it had like a southern feel to to his music. But nowadays, I don't think Lil Wayne has necessarily like a southern type of sound. His sound is like more universal around the country. Like people listen to him in New York, people listen to him from the South, people listen to him in the Midwest and the West Coast. And that's one of the great things about his music. It's no longer a regional type of sound in terms of the production. It's not, and just in terms of his flow, it's not. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so Def Rocker said Busta Rhymes. Yeah, 50 Cent would be interesting, but again, he has the same issue. Like, I'm not a big 50 Cent fan, I will acknowledge, like, um, as far as I'm concerned, 50 Cent's first album was his best album. Get Rich or Die Trying was his best album. That's a classic album. But after that, like, I haven't really been messing with him like that. I like the little theme songs he does for Power and all that stuff, but like, other than that, like, I can't even remember the last time I was listening to 50 Cent in the car or something like that. Um, so I don't see him competing with Jay-Z. Like, he has a few, I mean, he has some, he has some good songs, but I just don't think he has enough to go against Jay-Z. And I don't think he has the variety in his flow to mess with Jay-Z, because Jay-Z can rhyme super fast, he can rhyme slow, he can do comedy type stuff with his rhymes sometimes. Like, he has a little bit of comedy in him, not as much as like a Busta Rhymes or even a Little Wayne. A Little Wayne, he's saying some hilarious stuff. As politically incorrect as it is, he says some stuff that has you like laugh. Um, I won't say none of it right now, but you get it. Those of you who are familiar with his music. Yeah, but 50 Cent, I don't think he has what it takes. Yeah, so Def Rocker said that Jay-Z's been out since '89 or nine. Not in terms of his own project though, like his own album. Like, when I just remember him doing that whack song with Jazzo, that Hawaiian Sophie song. But in terms of like his own, like, the first time I heard of Jay-Z as an artist was when he put out that what's the name of that album? I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of his classic album, his very first album. I'm sure somebody's gonna leave a comment, but he has that very first album. I'm sure, I don't know why I'm blanking out on the name of that first album. Um, but that's a classic album. I'm just blanking out on that name. Let me just look it up real quick. I'm sure somebody already left a comment, but let me just. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of his very first album. Reasonable Doubt. That's the name of it. Reasonable Doubt. Yeah, that was a classic album. And that's when I first heard of him. And I think that came out in the mid 90s. But your point is well taken. Def Rocker has this emoji throwing up next to Drake's name. But Drake, I mean, you got to admit, like, you've heard some Drake songs. You're going to tell me when you hear Drake on the radio, you say, let me cut that off. I mean, his music is melodic. It's music. Like, people feel the music. Somebody mentioned Tupac. Well, I'm just talking about living people now, like people that could actually go on stage with him and go against him. I'm not talking about any deceased rap artists. Because, like, if we were talking about deceased rap artists, I would say Big L would be a great person to go against Jay-Z. I heard this song with Big L and Jay-Z on it. And you could tell, like, Jay-Z seems to have a very similar style as Big L and stuff like that. So that would be an interesting competition if we were talking about him going against somebody that's deceased. But I'm only talking about living rap artists. Some people talking about having them go against Tupac's hologram. uh, Somebody said he's not even top 10. Wow. I would give him the benefit of the doubt and put him in top 10. I ain't gonna be that hard on him. So somebody mentioned that Drake doesn't write his own rhymes. And I've heard this before. Like I heard that he acknowledged that he uses, like he works with people, but he writes most of his own stuff though. Like he said that he works with different people. And one of the responses that he had to people that said that he uses writers, he said like, why haven't any of those writers been able to blow up without him if he's dependent on them for his success? Um, so I think it's probably a situation where somebody may help him improve stuff or whatever. And I think that's messed up. For that alone, like for that alone, I wouldn't even put him. I wouldn't put him in like the GOAT category or the top 10. But in terms of the verses, if we're looking just at the performances and the songs by themselves without the background of like who wrote this and all that kind of stuff, I mean Drake would definitely be able to compete. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that would be something else, man. If they, I see, first said that if they did the ends in Paris song, together, because even in that, like they're going, they're both spitting their bars and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, the collaborations like make it clear to me that a Kanye West or any other artist that has collaborated him with him and held their own, that makes it clear to me that they can stand on the stage with him, despite what he's talking about. Yeah, because like Jay Z and Kanye did that classic album, Watch the Throne together and stuff like that, and Kanye held his own, so he's literally been on the stage with Jay Z. Performing these songs before crowds, so he can literally stand on the stage with Jay Z. Um, yeah, I do think race is a factor with Eminem and his success, without a doubt, because we know that most of the people that buy a lot of this hip hop music are white. Most of them are white, and we know that that drives album sales and all that kind of stuff. Um, so let's see. Yeah, I mean, I get the criticism of Eminem, but let's not pretend like he's not a great performer and he doesn't have great songs. Oh, so Def Rocker said KRS-One has a new single out. I'm gonna have to listen to that. KRS-One would be an interesting person to go against him too. Um, I would be interested in checking that out. Let's see. No, I don't think that beef was made up, Elaine. I think that was real. Def Rocker said Lil Wayne mumbles too much. I don't get that from his raps. I don't think he mumbles. Like I can hear his rhymes and stuff. And I know about the whole mumble rap. You got like all these artists that are labeled as mumble rappers and stuff. And I understand the criticism of them. And another thing that like really like helps with Wayne, like one of the reasons why I would say he would be the perfect person against Jay-Z is just because of his influence. Like a lot of people have been inspired by Lil Wayne's music and they have followed his lead and his example. And that can be for better or worse, but that's the case. The fact of the matter is a lot of MCs have been inspired by Lil Wayne. And it's the same is true for Jay-Z. I mean, sure, a lot of people have been inspired by Jay-Z as well. But when you look out at today's culture, hip hop culture, you will see that Wayne's influence is greater on this new generations than Jay-Z's influence is. Let's see what you all are saying. Yeah, the thing I like about Ghostface, let me go back to Ghostface. First mention Ghostface. Yeah, like he's just so creative with his rhymes. Like he can have one rhyme that's like a hardcore street song, and then he can have another song like talking about poverty and stuff, like his struggles growing up, and literally have be a sad song. And then like he has some creative albums. Like he has one album that's literally like a movie with a character in it. So don't sleep on Ghostface. Like I really think he's a creative and innovative lyricist and a great entertainer. And I had a chance to see him in concert once. I have not seen Jay-Z in person in a concert, but I've seen videos of his concerts. So I definitely think Ghostface would give him a run for his money. And even despite what I said about LL, I think that LL is a great performer. So like on stage, like he may have a shot against Jay-Z. Like when he starts performing those classic songs like My Radio and his all those other songs, man, he may have a good chance against Jay-Z. Let's see. All right, let's see what we have. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. Somebody said first said you got David Carroll, Lil Wayne, and 50 Cent, same paragraph. Oh man, it was funny. But yeah, if y'all saw my last video that I did about David Carroll, I encourage you all to check that out instead of me talking about it here. But you can hear my thoughts on that video. It's the last video right before this one. So let's see. Oh yeah, somebody wrote Reasonable Doubt. Yeah. I don't know why I was blanking on the name of that album. Oh, Kevin Smith said, oh, that's because, oh, so Kevin Smith said, I believe Master P could watch Jay-Z. He's not the MC that Jay-Z is, but he's a great performer. Yeah, he is a great performer, and I think you're biased though because you're from the South. But Master P is live. Don't get me wrong. I like Master P. I like his music from back in the day. His music would get me hyped up. Even if I were to hear it today, I'll get hyped up. I have that on one of my playlists dealing with how hip hop from the South. So I still listen to his music every now and then, and just talking about it makes me want to listen to it. So yeah, I mean, he would be an interesting person, but I just don't think his catalog could match up. Even though I'm sure he had like all those guest appearances on a lot of his artists' songs and stuff like that, but I just don't see him going against Jay-Z. Yeah, I don't. I see Nappy Yankee said Drake has writers and he sings. He doesn't qualify. I already mentioned the thing about writers. Like I don't. I think that he writes his own stuff. He probably does get some help. He's acknowledged that like he'll have people that he works with on songs and stuff like that. But for the most part, he does write his own stuff, from what I understand. And singing just adds another skill, even though he's not the best of singers. The fact that he does sing, that adds something to his music. and he's not the first to ever do this. We know that Ja Rule was singing his songs, and even 50 Cent um, sang in a lot of his songs, biting off of Ja Rule, basically biting off the person he criticized so much. But but yeah, anyhow. And one of the first people to do that, to actually sing in their songs, was like what's the guy's name? Biz Markie, like in that song "Just a Friend," where he's horribly singing the hook to that song. But yeah, I don't think that alone would the fact that he sings would disqualify him. Um, and I heard some people actually mention Lauryn Hill would be great. Like just as an MC, Lauryn Hill is great, but she only had one album, one solo project, and then she has the two albums with the Fugees. So I don't think that she would be able to match his catalog. I mean, even though like that one album she had a lot of classic songs on it. Don't get me wrong. That would be an interesting thing to see, but I just don't think she could go against him. And I'm wondering for the people that's watching, if there are any other women MCs that you think could go against Jay-Z in a battle. Like I just can't in a versus battle. I can't think of any, but I would really be interested in your opinion about that as well. Let's see. Yeah, one person that would be interesting is Andre 3000. Like it would really be interesting to see Andre 3000 go against Jay-Z, because even Jay-Z said that Andre 3000 was like would be in his top five. But the thing with Andre 3000, he doesn't have his own a solo project. He has the work that he's done with Outkast. But that would be interesting as well. Um, yeah, so those are my thoughts. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video. And before I go, I do want to send my condolences to Kango Kid from UTFO. I see that Fredro Miller mentioned the brother. I send my condolences. May the brother rest in peace and power. I remember back in the day, like that was one of the first hip hop songs that I heard. Like this brother from our neighborhood went to New York and he brought all this music to Detroit, and we were all listening to it. And that was the first time I heard of the Roxanne songs, diss songs, and all that kind of stuff, and UTFO's song about Roxanne. So yeah, much respect to him. He was one of the early pioneers in hip hop. May the brother rest in peace. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to everyone. Please rate, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. I want to encourage you to follow me on Twitter at NewPosBlog and to follow me on TikTok. I recently started a TikTok account and I like how it's growing, and I post more frequently on TikTok than I do here on YouTube. But I plan to continue to post more videos over here on YouTube. So with that, peace and blessings. Have a happy holidays. I hope that you all had a Merry Christmas, and I hope that you all have a Happy New Year. Peace, everybody.